Okay, today I'm going to be I already can't talk. I'm, 3 words in, and I already can't talk. Okay, so today I'm going to be reviewing the movie Skincare. It has Elizabeth Banks and Bill Pullman's son. I can't remember any of the other actors' names, and the only reason I remember it was Bill Pullman's son is because I was watching the movie and I was like, this guy looks like he would be friends with Taylor Swift's ex-boyfriend, and he also looks like Bill Pullman. And I was right about at least one of those things, so cool. Um, Overall, I thought that this movie was like kind of interesting. It's inspired by a true story. I read about the true story, which is pretty wild. Um, so look that up if you want to. It was a pretty wild true story, and I think the movie followed what actually happened pretty well without like adding anything too crazy. Well, maybe they did. I don't know. But I think it was an interesting story. It's labeled a thriller. It didn't really feel that much like a thriller to me because when I think of thriller, I think of something like with a lot more action. And this movie didn't necessarily have a lot of action scenes. It just had a lot of like real life scary scenes, such as like people showing up at your work unannounced being scary, which is terrifying. And I can stand horror. I just can't stand horror if it's even a little bit realistic. So the idea of somebody showing up at my workplace and being creepy is a nightmare to me because that could actually happen. But yeah, I think because I saw that it was a thriller, I was like expecting more actiony scenes and more suspense, and there wasn't necessarily that suspense in the movie, which is fine. But I think that kind of altered my perception of the film. Who cares? So, yeah, I think watch this movie if you're interested in the true story and you kind of want to see it played out on a big screen. If you like stories about stalking and about like business and crime, then I think you would enjoy this movie. But overall, yeah, I think it was good, but it definitely takes a while to like it takes a while for like things to happen, and like I would not recommend this movie to my mom because I think she would get impatient halfway through and be like, I don't understand what's going on. I'm sick of this. There's too many people. But if you are interested in some like true crime, stalking kind of stuff, I think that this movie would be for you. All right, that is the end of my review. Overall, I liked it. I just thought like there could have been more exciting scenes, but that's only because once again, my head was like going like thriller action. Oh, blanket progress. I'm getting there. Okay, so this movie is about a woman named Hope Goldman who has a skincare brand that's about to launch, and she's like excited about it launching. She has a spa or salon, I'm not sure which term is more appropriate, where she, does facials, and she's got like a list of clients and is very, moderately successful. And basically, the movie is a little bit confusing because it shows Elizabeth Banks, who plays Hope Goldman, doing her makeup in the mirror, and then it like cuts and says like 2 weeks earlier, but you still see Elizabeth Banks doing her makeup in the mirror, and you're like, wait, what? And so she is at a TV interview talking about her skincare brand with Nathan Fillion, who I like him as an actor, and I don't know what he was in that made me like him, but I have always liked him. And I think his character's name is Brett. And basically she's just like, oh yeah, my skincare product, buy it. It's launching in 2 weeks, yay. And anyway, that happens, whatever. So going back to her business, she notices that somebody bought like the storefront across the street from hers, and it's actually a guy who owns his own skincare business as well. His is called like Shimmer by Angel, which is a way better name than, I actually don't even know what her salon's called, but her beauty line is like Hope Goldman Skincare, which is fine, I guess that works as a name. So anyway, she like sees that this guy is moving in, and I'm not like rooting for her, because like the movie doesn't really give you a reason to root for Hope. And I'm okay with that. I like when you don't necessarily like the main character. I enjoy when films do that, but like in this movie, Hope's just not entirely a good person. And I was like, Angel has really done nothing wrong, and you do not make me like you, so like why am I rooting for you? But basically, Hope goes across the street to like introduce herself. She brings a bag of her samples, and she's like, hey, I'm Hope, I work across the street, blah blah blah. And Angel's like, that's cool. Oh, is your car parked in my spot? You should move it. Which, like, yeah, dick move, Angel, don't bring that up now. He's like, yeah, you should move your car next time. And he mentions that, you know, he's got like a skincare business too, and then he like leaves the room to go do something, and Hope keeps her freaking skincare products. She's like takes them with her because she doesn't want to give them to a rival, which whatever, fine. So then like there's all these scenes with her landlord where he's like, you need to pay me your rent, like you owe me money. And she's like, I'm gonna pretend his name is Jeff, we've known each other for a while. Rent, that's so silly. I'll do it. I just need time until launch. And it's like, Hope, pay your freaking rent. It's been a while, like months. And I don't get it. Once again, like, not very likable of her. And so she, I don't know, stuff happens. I forget how the movie starts out, but one of her clients introduces her to Bill Pullman's son. I'm going to say his name. I don't remember his name. We'll call him Bill? Sure. No, I don't like that name. We'll call him Joshua. So her client introduces him to Josh, who's like a 26-year-old photography guy. And he's like, oh yeah, I did a photo shoot with you once years ago. And she's like, that's cool. Anyway, so as she's working, Hope gets like texts that say things like, oh, I don't like the shirt you're wearing, or that color doesn't look good on you. And then like somebody will send her videos of her at work, and the angle of the video looks like it was taken from Angel's shop across the street. And so she's immediately suspicious of this, as you should be, but she just like ignores it and then goes to meet up with one of her clients who's like implied to be either an actress or an influencer. And she's like, hey, I was hoping that you could like, here's a free sample, maybe you could like post it. Which, once again, another reason I don't like her, because in my opinion, like if you are giving someone a sample so that they show it on social media, like that should be contractual. That is literally an ad. You need to pay the person for that work, and you can't just like try and be sly about it, which is clearly what she's doing. And it was stupid, and it made me dislike her. And obviously nobody will show her products because everyone kind of hates her. But then she like wakes up the next morning and goes to work, and her secretary or assistant is like, what is up with this email you sent last night? And it's this really long, weird email where she's like saying like, oh, I am lonely and amorous. I don't know what words I'm allowed to say on the internet. She's like, I am lonely and amorous, and I desire companionship of the physical nature. That was a really professional way of putting it. And the language in it is ridiculous. And Hope's like, I didn't write this. Why do people think I wrote it? And everyone's calling her like, Hope, why would you send that email? It's clearly a scam email. Like, if I got an email like that from any of my friends, the first thing I would do is text them like, hey, you've been hacked. But for some reason, everyone thinks she wrote this, which is funny because like no one would ever write this. So more things like that keep happening where like things get hacked. Men start showing up at her work demanding physical relations with her of the consensual or non-consensual variety. And when she's like, why are these men showing up at my place of business? They look online, and there are these like ads, like basically it seems like Hope made them, where it's like, hey, my name's Hope, surprise me at work to do XYZ. I like it when I'm surprised. I'll even pretend that I don't know what's going on. And it's like terrifying. If that ever happened to me, I would cry and call the police, which is what she does. Um, and obviously the police do nothing about it. They're like, oh, we can't prove that it's a stalker, and all those ads are down now, so you're fine. And it's like, clearly she's not. Like, you can't just say that. But anyway, yeah, she keeps dealing with that crap, and she keeps thinking that it's Angel because he's like her competitor. And it's funny because like Angel's across the street and he's like, oh yeah, you're there, cool. He's doing fine, his business is doing great, he has no reason to be trying to tear down her business. And it's like kind of a little bit racist of her to be like, it's Angel, it's definitely Angel, because they kind of show some racial microaggressions in the movie. Another reason I don't really like her, especially when there's no proof that it was Angel, besides the fact that one of the camera angles looked like it could have been taken from his shop. And not even necessarily from inside his shop, but just from near his shop. So anyway, Hope starts like hanging out with Josh and like confiding in him. And he's like, oh, it's gonna be okay. I'll protect you. I'll take care of you. And as an audience member, you're like, you're 26 and she's like, I don't know, in her 40s or 50s. Like, what can you do? You're, what? Like, no, I don't want a child trying to take care of me. But he is all, oh yeah, I'll protect you. And then they kind of like start to have a relationship, but not really. Stupid. And at this point in the movie, I guessed the plot twist correctly. Really, it was the second time I saw him that I guessed it correctly. It's that he was the stalker. And what would you know? I was right. So, yeah, when he mentioned that he worked on a photo shoot with her, I was like, oh yeah, it's definitely him. So basically, a little bit after that, they revealed that he's the one who's been like putting up all these ads online and, you know, giving out her home address and hacking into her email. And he's the one like orchestrating all of it. And I don't know, he's trying to work as like a lifestyle coach. And he has this like video where he's like, you have to make opportunities for yourself. You have to create a problem to then solve it, which is clearly his inspiration for messing up Hope's life. I don't know. I didn't really think it was, I don't know. I thought it was stupid, but that's because if anybody tried to life coach me, I would be like, no. So yeah, he's like pulling all the strings, and then Hope has this like mechanic friend who's also keeping all of her products in his shop, and she keeps calling him for help because like her car tires got slashed, and he's like, don't worry, Hope, I'll take care of you. And so she's like all scared and vulnerable, and she tells him, she's like, I think Angel did it. Angel's the one who's been stalking me. And the mechanic is like, okay, don't worry, I'll take care of him. And then Hope's like, okay, cool. And so she goes home, and then she realizes that Josh is the guy who's stalking her. So she tries to call the mechanic, but at that point the mechanic has already gone to Angel's house, and he starts to like beat him up so badly that he like, I don't know if his intent was to kill Angel or if his intent was just to scare him, but he basically like beats him up really bad. In the process, the mechanic gets hit in the head pretty bad, and as he's driving away, he's like there's blood coming down his face, and he's trying to stop it. As he's distracted because he's doing this while driving, he gets hit by a truck and he dies. So Elizabeth Banks like wakes up the next morning, finds out that he's dead, and is like, oh no. And then the cops are like, oh my gosh, Angel almost got beat to death. What's up with that? And basically they find evidence of Elizabeth Banks communicating with the guy who almost beat Angel to death, and they're like, oh shoot, you tried to pull out a hit on this guy, didn't you? And she's like, what? And so the police come to arrest her as she's doing her makeup, which is back to the beginning of the film where she's doing her makeup in the mirror, and it says 2 weeks earlier. And then she like goes over to the police with a full face of makeup, skin looking amazing. And then there's all these like news articles that are like, oh my gosh, people are obsessed with the Hope Goldman skincare brand. Nobody can get a bottle of her products anymore because they're all sold out. Wow, she's fantastic. And it shows like her mugshot where she looks gorgeous. And it's like, what a sensational story. We love her. And that's the end of the movie. So, oh, and then Josh gets arrested too for, I don't know, being a criminal. So yeah, that was the movie. I thought it was okay. It's really close to the true story. Um, but overall, I didn't really like any of the characters. Angel was fine, but you barely see him. And even the mechanic who had good intentions still tried to kill someone and probably had a hope on had a crush on Hope. So it it was a bit rough. But if you want to watch it, watch it. It's your life. I don't care. But yeah, have a good night.